Shalom. First, we give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the sons of Yakim, pushing his truth, Shalom, all over the world. Shalom, keep pushing. We're going to get into it with this BS that Mel Gibson is coming back out with, this Passion of the Christ bullcrap. It says, the Passion of the Christ, resurrection, which should moviegoers expect. According to actor Jim Caviezel, we're in store for the Mel Gibson's magnum opus with the Passion of the Christ, resurrection. Talking about, his magnum opus. Talking about this is his greatest work, his greatest literature or something of Mel Gibson. Yeah, wanting to help perpetrate one of the greatest lies of all time that the so-called white man's is Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, which is not the truth. These Christians, Jake and Christian churches leaving by the masses. And now even the so-called white people, they starting to realize that the one they was reading about, Jesus, is not a so-called white man. So, you know what the tiny hat said? All right, Mel, we need you to make a movie to get these, especially these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, primarily so-called Negroes, they leaving in droves. The northern tribes, they still asleep. They still thinking, that Yahweh Shai is a so-called white man. But these so-called Negroes, they kind of woken up to the point that, that the one they call Jesus is a so-called black man at least. It says cinema is unique in its ability to bring together groups of people who may otherwise not commune naturally. When The Passion of the Christ hit theaters in 2004, it was a monumental success, reckoning more than $623 million worldwide. The film was the most well-made and brutalist depiction of the crucifixion ever committed to film. It is regarded as the most successful faith-based film of all time for many. It does what any great piece of cinema should do. It moves and makes us think. It challenges audience to reconcile one of the most iconic images of our culture, a bleeding, tortured man nailed to a cross with a crown of thorns atop his head. The film also inspires the imagination in the realm of miracles, celestial beings, good and evil, and the meaning of loyalty, betrayal, and forgiveness. For all these reasons and more, regardless of worldview, we anticipate Mel Gibson's next installment with curiosity, fear, love, excitement, pity, and shame. Choose your emotion, according to actor Jim Caviezel, who read a recent draft of the script. We're in store for Mel Gibson's magnum opus. The Empire Strikes Back of Christianity is apparently a masterpiece and must be seen to be believed. No, Christianity is dead. It's not coming back. All those BS, philosophies, Christianity, all that stuff is being torn down. It's been torn down. It's weak. It's on life support right now, spiritual life support. Jake is not falling for that, so-called white man's coming back to love everybody. He's coming to, to take everybody out of here, on a big old cloud, and he's coming back with puppy dogs and big old baskets of chicken, and everybody's gonna be together hanging out, having a good time. Even the so-called white man who's been kicking out people butts up and down the earth, for years now, for centuries, that we're gonna get together with the so-called white man in the kingdom of heaven and sit down and actually be friends. Nah, it don't go like that. So the people's not buying that crap no more, man. They come to realize it's all lies. This so-called white man, he don't love your ass now. How is he gonna love you in the kingdom of heaven? He says, while there isn't much known about Gibson's plans for the sequel, other than that what the Bible tells us, A release date for an upcoming novel may be evidence of the film's roundabout premiere near June 16, 2023 for a book called The Gospel, according to Mel Gibson, Fact, Faith, and Fantasy in the Passion of the Christ Resurrection. So if the so-called white man don't love your asses now, you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, so you mean to tell me the ultimate so-called white man's gonna come back and all of a sudden he loves you niggas? That don't even make sense. It says the book is by Helen Bond, a celebrated professor of white Christian origins in the New Testament. While Satan only had a couple of cameos in Passion, it sounds like much of the film would take place in hell, where we'll likely be treated to Gibson's interpretation of eternal suffering. So now they want you to go pay, like back in 2000, was it 2004, the article said? So now they want you to go and pay to see another lie, where it costs even more today than go see this garbage. So now, you got to go pay to see some more garbage, and now you got to see the wrong interpretation of what some bug out Mel Gibson, some devil, his interpretation on what heaven and hell is. And he don't have a damn clue what's going on. It's just wickedness, man. Who wants to see this crap? Nobody wants to see this crap. Not the man of the Lord, but I just really want to bring out the points, which I'm gonna get to the precepts here in a minute. It says, like much of them, let's continue with the article. It sounds much like the film would take place in hell, where we'll likely be treated to Gibson's interpretation of eternal suffering. This experience will likely put Clive Barker's Hellraiser 2, Hellbound, to shame. Horror sounds will surely flock to the theater for Nightmare's entry, which may shake some of the corny faith beast genre shackles loose and give us a true cinematic spectacle that will give George Lucas a run for his money. Let's get into what we can expect. Nah, we ain't getting into this garbage. I'm just going to point out some precepts here that the man they call Jesus is actually a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah. He's dark-skinned. He's not some soft, beta male Edomite so-called white man. He's not some no sodomite.
Place brings back so many good memories.
You remember the very first camping trip? Remember a road trip in '97? Those were good times.
Contrary to
They were
belief,
golden.
He came for the nation of Israel and the nation of Israel only. Which is clearly in the Bible. That, and that ain't no private interpretation. We'll go to the book of Daniel here. Go to Daniel 10 and 6. It says, his body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. The voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. So yeah, it says, I want to get to the point. And his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. And what color is brass? It's a color of brown. And it says it's polished brass. At that. It don't say nothing about him being pale, milky, red looking. It's saying the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. No Edomite ain't got no voice like that. Yahweh Shai got a deep, voice. Not of old soft, shave-faced weasel looking Edomite, man. And believe me, he has a beard too. You know, he's an old shave face, smooth, Old Spice commercial looking, you know, Edomite. No, he's a Jake. He's from the tribe of Judah, man. The line of Judah. A fierce, the king, man. Not some soft beta male. Esau Edom, he's a male, but he runs a queendom. You know, uh, the so-called white man. He's not even a man. He's a child. He's just a male. Let's go to Revelation. Instead of drill the point home. This Revelation 1 and 13. It says, "In the midst of the seven candlesticks, one likened unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle." So yeah, Yahushua, he's a man of, like his father, he's a man of war. He's coming back in battle attire, in a warlike, position. And he has something a girdle around the paps with the golden girdle, to protect your organs. That's what that girdle's about. And he's coming in gold. So he's going to look good doing it. Why he killing people, man. So his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as flame of fire. So who's this brown-haired, stringy-haired devil that keeps showing up and propping up on these portraits in these movies? Huh? Who is it? And his feet like unto fine brass. And there go that, there go brass. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they were burned in a furnace. And his voice as the sound of many waters. His feet like unto fine brass, as if they were burned in a furnace. So that goes to show you, if you put fine brass in a furnace, it's going to be very, very, very dark, or black, or what people like to say. So Yahushua, he's a very, very dark-skinned man, So who's this pale devil, man? I tell you who it is. Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Like saying he covered the faces of the judges thereof, and he's covering up Yahushua and putting his red, pasty, pale face in his place, saying, he's righteousness. He has all the power. No, the so-called white man ain't got no power. It was only given to him. It's loaned to him for a short period of time. And sure enough, the so-called white man is not the Son of Man. The Most High does not have a pale Edomite son. That's not the case. We're going to get that too. We're going to go to the book of John 14 and 9. It says, Yahushua said unto him, "Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip?" Asking, "He hath that seen me, have seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father?" So yeah, Yahushua said, "Hey Philip, if you seen me, you seen the Father." Saying they look alike. Saying, hey, I look just like my pops. I got the same color. Just like him. I look just like my pops, man. Father like son. So the Most High creator of heaven and earth and everything in between is a dark-skinned man too. He's just like his son. The Most High didn't say, hey, I'm really dark, but I'm gonna make me a pale, pasty, son. No, he created a son that looked just like him. And the scriptures, points it out and get straight to the point, man. So Mel Gibson, he can come out with his Edomite, Hamashiach all he want to, Jesus the Christ. But now the cat's out of the bag, the truth's out. Ain't enough, you can't make enough movies, Mel Gibson, to try to cover up the truth. You can't fool the elect with this garbage. You could be a stumbling block still into the 2/3. That's all of the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But for the men of the Lord and the men, the hopeful elect, hey, we know that this is some BS. And we know what the Most High and his sons look like, Yahweh Shai. So you can keep trying to say, oh, this is your greatest work. It's not going to work, man. The cat's out of the bag, the jig is up. But, let's say, hey, I pray this video was edifying. And to the sons of Yakin, man, keep pushing. Shalom.